household trash, I take in special, what we call special waste. It's not hazardous waste, but it's brought here for three different reasons most of the time. One, for security reasons. So yeah, I deal with a lot of federal law enforcement agencies. Just about every federal law enforcement agency you can think of, I deal with directly. A lot of manufacturing companies, and also a lot of just general document destruction companies. So instead of their stuff, they worry about their stuff getting in the hands of people that may want to steal their information. So they want it securely destroyed. So I oversee that program. But so far as the household waste, the bulk of it comes from Fairfax County. This is a mass burn facility. As Michael mentioned, we get up to 2,000 degrees. We have a metal recycling program, so nothing is really lost. So if you could say, for example, if you had 10 large bags of trash, it will be reduced down after it's burnt to one bag of ash. And so once we pick the trash up here from the bunkers, the crane operators, when we go up, you'll notice a lot of times they're picking the trash up and fluffing it around. That's for a good solid combustion and burn, just in case you may have wet trash and things like that. And then also it gives the crane operator an opportunity to see if he has any large bulky items. We call them white goods, like refrigerators and stoves and things like that. So we can pick them back out and put them in a recycling bin. So once the trash is picked up, and you'll actually get to see this, I just want to run through it. The crane operator will feed what we call the hopper. From that point, once it goes down the hopper, this gray area right here, it'll go on to the feed table. At this point, this green feed table here, and does anybody know what it takes to create combustion or fire? What are some elements that are needed?
Combustion. You need the ignition, the oxygen, and the kindling.
Well, one of the main things I wanted to touch on, you mentioned the oxygen. So what happens, we actually pull in, and it'll be a smell up there, but it won't be as bad as you would think for the amount of trash. And what happens is, when he mentioned air, so we have huge fans, and we're pulling in air from outside of the tipping floor area to give us the airflow inside the boiler to help complete the combustion cycle. So we're using outside air. So once we get a flame in this system here on the grate runs, and so we're not using any gas. Our main fuel source is trash. The only time that we use natural gas, if we bring a unit down for maintenance or something like that, to work on a unit, to get the unit back online, we will inject natural gas just to get it burning. Once it starts, we cut off all gas. From this point here, we call this the burnout stage, when the trash actually turns to ash. So we have what we call a clinker roll here. It creates kind of a damming effect, so we won't get too much ash pouring into the dischargers. The dischargers are the lower area down here, and we actually drop the ash into water to cool the ash off before it goes. I don't know if you can see these little belts up here, before it goes onto the conveyor belts. Once it goes on a conveyor belt, it rides close to 1,000 feet long on a 1,000-foot long belt out to our metal recycling system. And so out there we have these huge magnets, and it's picking out, I mean, very fine pieces of metal. Very fine. That's worth a lot of money. So sometimes we'll send out 2 or 3 truckloads a week of this very fine metal. So one other thing though, did you guys read about what we do with our ash? You know, that's the main concern of a lot of people, you know, because with zero landfill, then people say, well, what do you do with your ash? So what happens with the ash, once it goes in the dischargers, we inject what we call dolomitic lime into it to control the pH. Because see, our ash, we're going to send that to what we call a monofill. So once we remove as much metal as possible from the ash, small and bulky, we send it out to the backyard, to the monofill, and that's controlled by Fairfax County. So what we have to do all the time, we have to do what we call ash testing. And that's to make sure nothing we're sending out is hazardous. So we're looking for the metal levels within the ash. We're looking to make sure it's the proper pH level. That way, Once it's underground, it solidifies. It's like concrete.
What's the proper pH level? About 7?
Yeah, we want to be at 7, close to, in between 7 and high 8s. It's a good pH. So we're constantly monitoring our ash.
Is it usually acidic or the ash
No.
or basic?
It's basic, yeah. Yeah.
It's about
yeah.
the same pH as water. Water is 7.1.
Yeah, I was just wondering how
Yeah.
it comes out. Is it
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
basic? Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, so it's a big issue for us because I mean, one, we don't want to send out anything hazardous. That would go against the whole concept of what we do. And two, if that happens, if we had a very low pH or very high pH, we couldn't send the ash out. And so that will cause a huge problem for us when you consider how much we burn. So we monitor our ash all the time. And actually some states have started to experiment with ash as road work.
Yeah.
For road coverings and things like that. I mean, once it solidifies, it's amazing how hard it is. And actually some countries, they're already ahead of us doing that. So,
Is there anything else they're experimenting with for the ash?
not that I know of. I know just so far as road work, because some
Yeah,
of the
I've heard
same,
about that.
yeah, some of the same makeup you find in concrete anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the exact same makeup you find in concrete.
Okay.
It's just, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So the gas, whatever comes while burning and during this process, the whole ash generating process and everything, we see the smoke coming out. How does it affect the environment?
You know, that's what I was mistaken. They had asked me something about the stack, and they were saying they could see it from their house, and I thought they were actually talking about seeing vapors, but they were saying the actual structure they can see. But actually, what you actually see is not from the stack.
Okay.
You're seeing vapors from the cooling tower.
Okay.
Because this is a closed loop system, because water is expensive. We try to recycle and reuse our water over and over and over again as much as possible. So what happens is, and you'll see them when we head out, you have these huge cooling towers over here. And so the ultimate goal is, once we're burning in here, we get up to 2,000 degrees. Inside all these little tubes, it's water. And so, and then we're heating even more water. So once we start heating the water, we want to heat it even more. So once we get the steam going, we heat the steam even more to remove any additional saturation before it hits our turbine blades. So once it hits our turbine blades, anything that escapes or gets past the blades, it goes into what they call a dump condenser. So that steam is still warm. So that water, there's huge fans. It's cooling the water off again so we can run it back through the system, and that's what happens, and you see the vapors coming off
Is
of
that
those.
the waterfall thing
Yeah,
out there?
yeah,
Okay.
but they're huge fans over top, and you're actually seeing the vapors come off of that, some depending on the temperature outside.
And the steam is driving the turbine to
No, our
produce
turbines,
energy?
you'll see our turbines are in the control room, but
Okay.
these are actually huge fans, so it's cooling the water down. But you're seeing vapors. It's not smoke from the stack
So we don't get any smoke from the stack at all?
that you can really see. It would once we start seeing smoke or seeing colors coming out of the stack, then it's a problem. But
Okay.
I've been here 18 years. That's just not something.
So it is nothing, anything like which may cause bad to the environment or anything by burning these or something.
Well, there are things that come out of the stack, but we're required to be at certain limits. And I mean, our intercompany wise, our limits are more stricter than what the government has. So we kind of enforce on ourselves harder than what the government does.
The major pollutants, what, nitrous oxide or?
Well, SO2, NOx, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why we try to stay away from demolition debris and things like that. We monitor for that all the time. Drywall and things like that. Because we actually, and you'll see once we go on the floor, we have an operator who drives a big bulldozer, and he's looking for stuff like that all the time. And if
So-
we catch it, we load the truck back up and send it back out.
Even one thing you catch, you just send it to
Yeah, if we catch it, we send it back out.
The whole
But-
truckload, or do you use?
The whole truckload.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, we you know, I mean, it's because it's so busy on the
Yeah.
floor, and that's not what we do. We don't, you know, we're not trying to pull it out. If we catch it, you know, if we catch a truck coming in with drywall, demolition debris and things like that, you know, they'll call over to admin, to one of the managers. We'll go up, supervise it, and we'll load the box truck up. We'll do a report and send it back out.
Very nice. And do you have any limitations in this plant? Like like this is hard, like this may be improved, some kind of that thing, so that we can research and present our project on? Do you have any suggestions that you have some limitations, like it can be a sorting thingy, or it can be like you produce this one, like maybe it may be really better, like we are a robotic team, so we can find you solutions, we are researching on this one, how can it be improved, like recycling and research and everything. So if you can give us your limitation, that would be a right point for us to start and work on it.
Well, I mean, here, as Michael mentioned, you know, we don't do, in a sense, the standard sense recycling here. I mean, this is considered by the government a renewable source, but we don't do recycling here because we're a mass burn. But I have been to those sorting facilities, like Michael have mentioned. I mean, we don't do it within Coventa, but I was very surprised, like he mentioned, the lack of safety that goes on at those places. Even though it's considered environmentally safe and things like that, or recycling, I was just surprised from a safety standpoint to actually have people over top of conveyor and just plucking stuff out all day long. I went to visit one maybe 2 years ago, and I was shocked about that, because we have conveyors here, and I mean, we have to have guards on our conveyors. You can't be close to them. We have safety pull cords on our conveyors. No one deals with the conveyors unless they're locked down. So that was kind of shocking to me to see that. You know, you on one hand, you know, the company was pushing, you know, their environmental standards, but then on the other hand, the safety standards were lack.
So
Where's the closest one that has a sorting facility?
I think it's in Manassas.
wow, we cannot drive to Manassas.
That's fine. Manassas is like 30 minutes away.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's that.
I thought Massachusetts. Okay, Manassas.
Oh, Manassas, yeah.
Manassas, Virginia, yeah.
Persona.
Yeah, so I was, because what they do, they pull out cardboard, they pull out metal, they rebuild the cardboard, and anything that's considered MSW or regular trash.
Is that American Disposal?
No, it's not American Disposal.
If you can give our contact, we can make a trip there too.
Someone else took me there to visit just to see, because they send out their what they can't recycle, they send to us.
To
so
burn
far as
it.
the trash. But I was just shocked seeing how they pull the material out that they were saying that they were going to recycle.
It's
So
dangerous.
that was kind of
So
interesting.
if you have
to me.
any robot or something doing it for you, that would be. That would save.
Yeah.
So we would love to visit that center.
I'm trying to think. I think it's called Broad Run or something like
Please
that. I
give
think
us
that's
that
the name.
information.
And someone took me a while ago.
Jill said that she was going to a recycling center in Manassas. She might be that one.
It may be. I was just
Sorting?
that. I mean, overall, it's decent, but just to say, I mean, that has to be factored in. I mean, you can't, you know, talk about saving the environment and then, you know, so here, like Mike had mentioned, you know, it's pretty much an all hands approach here, because you know you have a bulldozer pushing the material in, you have the crane picking the material up. So, I mean, overall, and I mean, a huge part of our expense is on our air pollution control system. I mean, that's a huge expense.
Okay.
We put a lot of maintenance resources and revenue in our air pollution control system.
So while burning this, you generate electricity or something?
Yes.
So
Yep.
that you use it for your own plant, or and how many houses or thing like that?
We use in-house, we curate our own electricity to power the plant, and then also we put out on the grid. I think the last I heard, it's enough to power about 85,000 homes.
Oh wow! So you all provide electricity for us over here?
Well, no, we not directly. We put it on the grid, and then the major utilities they distribute it out like that.
Okay.
But that's the main goal. That's the main goal. Instead of using coal, you know, our fuel source is the trash. It's your household trash.
Very nice.
And when you really think about it, I mean, sometimes we can get up to 5,000 tons a day, and most of it's from Fairfax County. That's a lot of trash from one county.
5,000 pounds per day. Please, tons.
Yeah.
Please note it.
Yeah.
How many people live? Make it
That's 10 million.
10 million. 10 million pounds. And how many people live here? So you have to calculate per person how much trash we are generating. 5,000 tons.
Well, these guys are sharp.
Like, One more thing. Actually, the team is coming up with different ideas and everything for the for their project. And one